In today's video, we have the latest NHL trade rumors around the Calgary Flames and the Montreal Canadiens, more specifically Jeff Petrie, Elias Lindholm, Noah Hanifin. Plus, we have a big statement out of Arizona regarding their potential future arena. We have a signing in Toronto, as well as New Jersey, and a tryout scheduled for Oilers training camp. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot of NHL news and some trade rumors to take a look at today. First up, we got our first mention of a PTO for the upcoming training camp for NHL teams coming up this fall. The Edmonton Oilers are reportedly bringing veteran centerman Brandon Sutter to training camp on a professional tryout. Of course, Brandon Sutter last played for the Vancouver Canucks, was not playing anywhere in the NHL last season. Brandon Sutter basically, I think he was one of the unlucky people who's had a long history with long COVID. Like, he obviously contracted COVID and had symptoms that, prolonged and persisted for an extended period of time. A lot of kind of the same sort of thing, I believe, sort of similar to what Jonathan Toews was dealing with. A lot of fatigue and just energy issues and other things that kept him out of being able to play. But obviously he must be feeling better and wants to make a comeback attempt here. So if the Oilers can, figure he's playing well and obviously able to handle it, maybe they bring him in as a fourth line player on a league minimum contract. We could see something like that if things work out. We'll have to see. More PTOs will likely get talked about and made official. Probably, I would say, another few more weeks as we get closer to training camp, and some of these players that are still out there as UFAs may have lost any hope, I guess, of getting a guaranteed contract beforehand. But we'll see. A couple of signings in the NHL today, including the Toronto Maple Leafs signing veteran goaltender Martin Jones to a one-year deal at $875,000. It's a one-way deal. Obviously, I know there's a lot of people perked up in the Toronto fan base and other parts of social media going, why are they doing this? What's going on in Toronto? They have Ilya Samsonov and Joseph Woll projected and expected to be the goalie tandem this year, and this is their number 3 option. A lot of teams want to have 3 legit goalies with NHL experience if they can help it. You got to remember both Samsonov and Woll do have, a history of dealing with different injuries. And this is a bit of an insurance policy. It's just that simple. I mean, with his contract being $875, he can go down to the minors and the full contract buried. Now, he will need waivers to do that. But if you want to have a third goaltender on your in your organization that has any amount of NHL experience, then typically they're going to need to go through waivers, and maybe they'll be lucky, maybe they won't. Now, in the past, the Maple Leafs have been one of the unluckiest teams trying to get players through waivers to go to the minor leagues. It does seem like the other teams might pick on them a little bit in that regard, but they've had some interesting names on waivers the last 2-3 years, and a lot of guys did get picked off by other teams. That is a common thing we've seen. Will Martin Jones be one of those guys? I don't know. I mean, clearly Jones has been a UFA very deep into the offseason here. Plenty of other teams have had their chance to sign him if they really felt like they wanted to, so I have my doubts that he would. Now, if Joseph Woll went on waivers, that's a different story. Or even Samsonov, really, which isn't going to happen, of course. But, at the end of the day, it's just an insurance policy. It's a very Leaf-like thing to do because obviously we know the Leafs have deep pockets. They don't mind having a few players playing on the minor leagues, making NHL money. And, obviously, it's like I said, it's just an insurance policy. If either of those other goalies get hurt right now, who's your number 3? See, last year they had Murray, Samsonov. Woll was your number 3. Now Woll's going to be your number 2. Murray's not expected to play. It kind of creates a bit of a hole. Now, they do have some other options in the organization. It's not like they don't have any goalies, but they don't really have anybody with experience, especially if you ended up in a playoff situation. I mean, Jones may not be, a stud goalie, but he's got a lot of experience. He's had his moments where he's been, pretty average goalie. A few years where he's been below average too, but, for the most part, he's a serviceable guy as long as he doesn't play too much. And he's just an insurance policy for the Leafs. It's just that simple. I mean, we're going to probably see, and the other thing too is we're probably going to see a number of goalies with experience on waivers. A lot of teams have a third guy like this that will need waivers this year before training camp rosters are cut down to what the final roster will be to start the NHL season. So there's going to be lots of options. So I think they have a better chance to sneak them through than they would have before. So we'll see how that goes. The Devils have also signed a defenseman in young Cal Foote. Now, Cal Foote gets a 1-year, 2-way deal. He does have a guaranteed amount to be paid, $450,000. He'll get $800,000 at the NHL level, $350,000 at the American Hockey League level, but he's guaranteed $450,000 total. So I don't know if he's going to get much NHL time, to be honest. The Devils have a fairly deep blue line. They certainly have some young defensemen like Hughes and Nemec trying to get into the full-time lineup and kind of, make a name for themselves ahead of this guy. But, he's still a guy that obviously has, I think there's still potential there, but things have not materialized really for Cal Foote. I mean, obviously his brother Nolan also plays with the Devils right now. They were both actually drafted by Tampa. This is going to be their second time with the same NHL organization. Neither player really worked out in Tampa. Both have ended up on other teams. Cal Foote was traded to the Predators at the deadline this past year in the Tanner Jeannot trade. Finished the year with the Predators. Didn't get a qualifying offer. I mean, it's unfortunate after 3 years and 141 games and plus 13 playoff games. He didn't get QO'd, so became a UFA, and it's taken a long time to get an opportunity. So we'll see what can happen in New Jersey. Like I said, at the very least, he's going to make a more lucrative amount of money to play in the American Hockey League and be one of the top couple of call-up options. It's just that simple. I don't know that he's going to be more than a depth piece like that. Some fairly, I don't know if I want to call this big news, but the Coyotes were certainly happy to put out this news here today. Big statements from the Arizona Coyotes on the future of their potential new arena. We haven't heard much in some time, really, ever since the last deal kind of went belly up and was voted down by the local population. They're certainly looking for an opportunity to do this and a way to do this that's not going to require a public vote, because I think they'd probably be concerned they weren't going to win again. But I'll show you the statement that the Coyotes put out here today, kind of confirming what their current plans are. So the statement here says, "We can confirm that owner, chairman, and governor Alex Muriel has executed a letter of intent to purchase a parcel of land in Mesa, Arizona, to be the potential site for a sports arena and entertainment district for the club. The Coyotes remain committed to building the first privately funded sports facility in Arizona history and ensure the valley as the club's permanent home. The club will continue to explore other potential sites in the East Valley." Now, they also went on to talk about how excited they were for the upcoming season with all the new players they've added to their NHL roster. And to be honest, they've added some decent players. I'm not so sure this roster's that excited, that much to get excited about. I mean, they do have some good players already that's still there, like Clayton Keller, for example, who's a very under-the-radar kind of guy, but a great player. They're adding Logan Cooley and, but they, mentioned like a lot of their players they've added, like Troy Stetcher, Matt Dumba, Bukestad, Zucker. Like, I don't know. I mean, these names are quality NHL players with experience. I don't know if it's that exciting, but they certainly are excited. But the other part of the statement that really caught me when I was reading through it, it says they use the word that after all the players that they with experience they've added, that they're also adding the top prospect in the world, Logan Cooley. Like, no pressure, kid. You're the top prospect in the world. Now, I think Logan Cooley is phenomenal. To call him the top prospect in the world right now is an unnecessary statement to put undue pressure on this kid. And secondly, no offense to Logan Cooley, I think he's going to be really fun, and I look forward to seeing what he can do. But considering Connor Bedard hasn't played yet, he's still technically a prospect. And I think Connor Bedard's the best prospect in the world. No offense to Mr. Cooley. But Logan Cooley would be right up there. If I'm making a list, he's probably... to be honest, he might be number 2. But still, regardless of what we think of this player and what his potential is, I just don't know that you really need to make a statement like that and really just kind of... hype this kid up and put undue pressure on him. I mean, it's a big jump going from junior or college to the NHL. I'm sure he's going to have a good rookie season and be exciting and fun to play and watch. But, like, I just don't know. I don't think I would have went there. Anyways, no big deal. Really too much on that front. I just found it interesting. The main thing here is that the Coyotes seem confident that they have a piece of land in Mesa that they're confident they can hopefully build upon. Now, a letter of intent really isn't all that serious, but it shows that they've scoped out some spots that they are very interested in and confident in moving forward. I've seen a reaction online today. Some people think this is great. I've seen a lot of people comment and say that Mesa isn't really a great area. Of course, I don't live there. I don't know the area like the locals would, of course. I've seen a lot of people comment and say that they need to be closer to Scottsdale. That this is going to be another version of Glendale, and that it's, might be setting themselves up to not succeed. I don't know. I mean, I know when everything first came about afterwards, after Tempe didn't work out, Mesa seemed to be getting a lot of attention as a potential spot. But I'd be curious, especially if you live in the area and you know the Arizona, map and everything better than I do, and you know all the different cities in around this area that we're talking about in the valley where they're looking to build. Is Mesa really that bad of an option? Does it really need to be like either in or right close to Scottsdale? That's what a lot of people seem to say, that where a lot of the minor hockey is, and the people that would have the money to buy the season tickets and just to be the, where more of the wealth and fan base would be. Let me know if what you think and what your thoughts are on this process. Like I said, the letter of intent, to be honest, they're still looking for other options too. Like, this isn't committed to anything. It's not a done deal by any means. It's just that they're having an intention on buying a piece of land if everything checks out. So good news for sure, but it's a long ways from being, a done deal and sign, seal, deliver type of thing. That's going to be several months away. I know the NHL would like to have something firm in place, ideally by January. So we'll see where things go on that front. Onto the trade section of the video. I want to take a look at the Calgary Flames. We get some updates today from Dave Pagnotta, who's appearing on the NHL Network. We do know a couple of things. One, we already know that Tyler Toffoli wanted out and got traded. We know Noah Hanifin has made comments that he will not extend and wants to go back and play in the United States. That's been confirmed by Elliot Friedman. I've seen more reports saying that the main teams that are still interested in Hanifin right now are mainly the Buffalo Sabres. They keep coming up a lot. Obviously, Pittsburgh was mentioned before, but now that they've got Carlson, they won't be adding Hanifin as well. So they likely wouldn't be in the picture, pretty much guaranteed wouldn't be in the picture here anymore. There could be some other teams as well, but the Sabres seem to be the team that I've kind of heard the most chatter around. But then again, they definitely want a top four defenseman. Hanifin fits the bill. And we'll see if they can get that worked out. I wouldn't be shocked if Hanifin is moved before the start of the year. But according to Dave Pagnotta, one of his teammates who many thought would be moved might not be moved after all. But it's going to depend on how negotiations go, and that's centerman Elias Lindholm. Now, according to Pagnotta, at one point Lindholm said he wasn't really ready to entertain a contract extension. We know Conroy, the new GM of the Flames, had put a fairly big offer on the table for an 8-year extension, and Lindholm had not signed it, not accepted. So that had a lot of the fan base concern. Many people thought, well, maybe he just doesn't want to stay, because that seems to be the general feeling amongst a bunch of these veteran players. And to a degree, it could be, but I think to some extent, but Pagnotta's saying it's more about negotiating, that Lindholm's actually willing to stay. So it's not. We might be able to say he's had a change of heart. I'm not really sure if that's fair or not, because I don't know that we can really fully 100% say that he 100% wanted out. We just know he wouldn't sign an extension yet, and that maybe it was just because they didn't offer enough money. That very well could be the answer here. It may not be just that he absolutely wants out. Maybe he'll stay for the right price, and they haven't made that price up on paper yet, right? So Pagnotta's reporting that previously an 8-year deal was on the table, believed to be in the 8.2, 8.3 range, and apparently to get Lindholm to sign, that number's going to have to at least start with a 9, maybe a bit more on an 8-year contract. Then Lindholm will have a more consideration to stay. So if Conroy, and some people feel, and Pagnotta has mentioned that they kind of might have to do this if they don't want to have a mass exodus of all their veteran players, that maybe they have to kind of overpay a little bit here and get Lindholm to stay. I mean, clearly, like, they've already kind of tried replacing Toffoli, bringing in a guy like Sharangovich. We'll see if he can give similar production or not. Hannafin's not moved yet, but doesn't want to extend. And then, of course, you got Backlund as well. Now, Backlund and Lindholm, I know, are pretty good friends. Maybe Backlund has a better chance to stay if Lindholm stays. Now, Backlund at one point mentioned that he doesn't really want to entertain contract offers and staying. He wants to wait and see how the season goes. So, if Calgary doesn't want to take that chance that he doesn't like how it goes and walks, then they'll trade him ahead of time. If they're not going to be in position for playoffs, then I would suspect that it's a good chance he could get moved anyway. But it was also reported that Backlund really wanted to be captain, so that could be part of their negotiation as well. But at the end of the day here, it does sound like Lindholm's having a change of heart, and if they can offer the right amount of money, that he could end up signing an 8-year extension and staying, but it's going to take over $9 million, probably 9.25, something around there, to get it done. So we'll see. When it comes to Jeff Petrie in Montreal, a couple teams that have been mentioned. One possibility where he could end up landing would be the Dallas Stars. I've seen some reports suggesting that we could maybe see a trade for Radek Faksa, maybe Faksa and a pick. We know the Stars are not overly thrilled with Faksa's contract. The Habs have shown an ability here to kind of take on some players. They did the deal with Gurionov and Dadonov before. Maybe we see a similar type deal where Petrie goes down with salary retained, and maybe they get back Faksa to see if he can work out in Montreal with some different coaching, different line mates, and maybe they throw in a draft pick as well for their troubles. But we know Jim Nill and the Stars have had a high interest level in Petrie in the past. I am sure, considering what the price tag will be after they can retain 50%, that it's going to be that much more interesting and intriguing. Now, another potential landing spot for Petrie might actually be Anaheim. I know I've seen some rumblings about this, but to be honest, I don't think this is going to happen, but we'll see. If Petrie would have to change his mind. Obviously, earlier in the Karlsson negotiations and rumors before that was finalized, there was some talk that San Jose might have to take Petrie. And there was talk that he would block a trade to the Sharks because he does have a modified no trade and that he didn't want to go that far from home. So if he wouldn't go to San Jose, I doubt he would go to Anaheim. But I have seen some reports that the Ducks would be interested in maybe bringing in another veteran defenseman, especially at a reduced rate, and that there might be some interest. I just don't know that Petrie would do it. I've seen other fans in another channel actually mention maybe going back to where all things started for him and with the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know that that's going to happen because I know Petrie and his wife were not crazy about playing in Canada, but I think that was mostly due to the COVID restrictions back, a year plus ago during the pandemic. Of course, that's all relieved and gone now, so I don't know if that changes things for them, but we'll see. I honestly think the Dallas Stars for a Faksa trade is probably the most logical one. We know Jim Nill seems to like these kind of trades. They've connected with other deals recently, including Gurionov and Dadonov, and I can see it happening again, but we'll see where things go and see what happens. We should know hopefully soon enough. I don't think that Montreal wants to keep Petrie hanging too long before they give him either the green light to come to training camp or that they're being flipped somewhere else. So let me know your thoughts on all of today's news down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.